Yeah, speaking about the show. All right. So today I'm going to talk about my hobby. And it's a hobby that is very much linked to the digital domain. And it's been transformative to the business I run, to the one of the businesses I run. But first I want to hit you with a question. Please take a look at the screen and please raise your hand if you think you can figure this out. Right, I'm going to help you here. What you see on the screen is a flow-based programming environment, or what is also called a node-based programming environment. Please guys, who is able to figure this out? Raise your hand. Okay, hold that thought. So, now about my story. I'm running a company that is called Energy Events. We've been in the market for 10 years, and we've done more than 40 events over those 10 years. And of course, we had some great achievements during all those years, and one of the biggest achievements was the concert of David Guetta back in 2012. I think to this date that it's been magical that we could see this artist in Moldova. Why? Because back in 2012, David Guetta was #1 DJ in the world. He was really demanded. He still hasn't visited Ukraine, ever. But he has been to Chisinau, and you can applaud that. It was an incredible project, both from the point of view of the budget, but also from the point of view of the production we had to go through. It was a huge challenge for my team, and once we accomplished it, we had a feeling of emptiness. We said, okay, what's next? I mean, you brought David Guetta in Moldova. What's next? What else can you do? All right. And when we had that question, we tried to answer it together with our team, and we actually identified 3 areas into which we could bring our business and grow. First, somebody said Beyonce. Okay, first is trying to get A-list artists to Moldova. This one is a bit tricky. Why? Because the moment you get an A-list artist, everybody forgets who organized the concert. They just say Beyonce, but who did that? That doesn't matter. All right, second is trying to stick to our initial vision for the events, is to produce events with the lowest entry price, to make them as accessible to the public as possible. People paid in average $9 per ticket for the David Guetta concert. I don't think anywhere in the world you could buy a ticket to that show for that price. And the third area was innovation. We had competitors appearing. We weren't the only one in the market. We understood we had to differentiate with our events. We had to be better. So we said we need to innovate, but what exactly should be the subject of innovation? So we analyzed the big guys, and we said, all right, let's take a look at the big events, and let's see what do they do in an excellent way, and maybe we can outdo it and do it better. So this is what you normally see at a huge international festival, dance music festival. And I have a question for you. Do you see the DJ here? All right, I'm going to help you out. This little dot over there is actually the artist. Yes, he's providing the input, he's providing the music, he's providing the creation, but the show does not depend on the artist. He might as well hide behind the table, and it would still work. What is at the core of a show? It's what we call the production. It's a combination of lights and visuals and special effects and the way they're organized and directed that create a show. And by the way, I have to say that this is one of the best organized conferences I've been to, so you can applaud once again the organizers. But at the core of the production are the visuals. They tell the story. They amplify the story the DJ is trying to tell or the artist is trying to tell. They are providing the narrative. And they transform a performance into a real show. So I said to myself, I would like to work on that. And I would like to be the best in this country, at least when it comes to the visuals at the shows that we produce. Then I looked for inspiration, and coming back to the David Guetta event, I have to say I'm not a big fan of David Guetta. I respect this guy because he was the first to cross over American hip-hop culture with the European underground house culture, but I'm not a big fan of his music. However, I'm a huge fan of his VJ, of his video guy. It struck me when I saw the show in Chisinau that his visuals were so crisp and so beautiful. It looked as if he was running a computer game on the screen and playing with this game. It was not a pre-recorded video, it was not a loop, it was something happening live. And it reminded me of the video game called Elite that you could find on ZX Spectrum. Please raise your hand if you know the game Elite. All right, I'm not the oldest guy in the room. So I had a little Synthes Byte computer at home and I played Elite. I didn't understand this game, but I understood that it's absolutely epic. And I saw this game on the screen on steroids at the David Guetta show. It was amazing, so clear, so beautiful, yet so simple. And here I have to say a little bit more about the way the visuals work. What everybody else does is using video loops. It's a small video that is made in such a way that it repeats itself over time. You can make it faster, you can make it slower, but it's actually a pre-rendered loop. So no matter how much time passes, you still see the same thing. The generative visuals are slightly different. Using a code, you set a number of rules according to which the subjects on the screen behave, and then you let them free. And the visuals become alive, and you sometimes hardly control them. So it's more of a controlled chaos rather than a pre-rendered video. At the same time, what I've seen at the David Guetta show is that David Guetta was pushing the play button, and he was merely pushing the play button on a song. But who actually performed at that show was the VJ. He was not pushing the play button. He was actually performing using the visuals. And the next thing that happened to me is the itch. It's what I call the itch. And I have to tell you, this is probably the biggest gift that I have received. Many entrepreneurs are driven by the profits. Some are driven by envy. Some are driven by the desire to have fame. Some are driven by frustration. I'm driven by the itch. What is the itch? It's the burning question that you have inside, which is, how did they do it? That's exactly the question I got when I saw the David Guetta show, and when I saw that VJ, and I tried to peek back behind his back to see what he does at the computer. How does he do it? Now, many times we suppress that itch. We say, no, this is probably too complex. Just like the picture I showed you at the beginning. We say, you know, this is modern technology. It's just too complex. It's big data. Nobody understands big data. So I shouldn't get into this. It's just too complex. Well, it happens so that I don't suppress my itch. And if I'm interested, I'm going to find out how they did it. It turned out it's quite simple. You have a tool that is built in any Apple computer. It comes free. You don't even have to pay for it. And this tool is what I showed you earlier. It's a flow-based programming environment where you use modules that do specific things, and you connect them together. For instance, here you have a module that loads an image from your computer, and another one that displays it. If you set up several of those models, you can create something. And it's actually pretty easy. But I also have to say that as this is not a video that you play, as this is an application that you run, things may happen. And I've seen this Mac version of the blue screen of death several times. Because you're operating straight with the CPU and the GPU of your computer. So it may crash at a point in time. But at the same time, it adds intensity to what you do. This is really live performance. It's not just pushing the play button. Now, 1 year later, after countless Google searches and stalking on the VJ of David Guetta on Facebook, trying to understand what kind of tools he used, after buying several books from Amazon and after going through forums, I found myself in front of a screen. And I found myself at what is called the front of house. It's actually the place where you have the audio engineers and the technical people running the show, doing all sorts of visuals. And I found myself performing together with the artist on stage. And I'm perfectly fine with the fact that I'm not on stage. I'm not there for the fame, I'm there for the fun of it. And I'll show you a few, well, I'll tell you about a few projects that we have realized afterwards. One project is Carla's Dreams, and here is a picture of a good friend of mine whose name is Stanley. Please applaud the guy. He's crazy about motion tracking and videos, and what we did together, I don't know if you've been to this concert, it happened 2 years ago in Manege. It was the biggest concert of Carla's Dreams ever in Moldova. So what we had a huge screen behind the artist, and on that screen we had the face of Carlos, on which we have mapped visuals running live and played live. And what you see is a face of the artist as he sings in perfect sync with the artist himself on the stage. It provided a completely different level of a show, because now not only the people in front of the stage could relate to the artist, but also the people in the back of the stage. And everybody was engaged. And I don't think that Carlos ever had a concert like that, like he had in Manege. I've been in the middle of the crowd, I've seen how crazy it was. So Stanley helped me out with that. Andrew Rael is another artist. He's our wonder boy who is, for the 4th year in a row, in the top 100 DJs of the world. For Andrew, together with another buddy of mine, with Daniel Knight, this young boy, who is not known by many people, but actually his visuals run on the biggest international shows in the world. You could see on Ultra, on Tomorrowland, the visuals made by this guy from Chisinau. Together with him, we have designed a full pack of visual support for Andrew Rael that he used to tour around the world, including these visuals, him playing in front of an interface, but also visuals running live, being rendered live, of materials supporting his music. Right here you have the Dark Warrior. It's a visual that supports his track that is also called Dark Warrior. It runs like a computer game live on the screen, and we interact with it. We change the camera position, we explode the 3D objects, so it's really fun. But we went even further. This year we have created a 3D model of Andrew, because one problem with the DJs, I have pointed it out a bit earlier, you don't even see them during the show. They're the little dots in front of the stage. So what we did, we have created a 3D model of Andrew, and together with Daniel, we have created this 3D live visuals of his face on the screen running live, so at least the people could see the DJ. And finally is Dobshes Dub. It's a project that we have realized last year, and it was done together with Sergei Bukur, a painter from Chisinau. Please give him also the round of applause. He's a musician and he's an artist that worked with Dobshes Dub for a long time. So he provided these beautiful sketches, this beautiful artwork created based on the songs of Dobshes Dub that we have turned into moving animations using the same programming language. And these animations could be transformed live depending on what happens on the stage. So as a result, we have created a show where you have, for each song, a specific animation, and it's being manipulated live as they sing, and it provided a cohesive and consistent show for the whole concert. Because Dobshes Dub they have different songs. They have songs in Russian, they have old songs, they have new songs, and having this as a backdrop has created a unique show. They had this show last year in Dendrarium. I hope some of you have seen that show. And they liked it so much that they have invited me to Bucharest to have the same show for their 20th anniversary this year. And I've been to that show, and I can tell you that it has been pretty amazing. And you can see me there running the live visuals while they play on the stage. Now, having said all this, now it's clear what's next for us. I told you a bit earlier that we had this question. What's next for our team? And where should we innovate? We will work, and we work with local artists, because Dobshes Dub is a local artist. Carla's Dreams is a local artist. Andrew Rael is a local artist. But we will use technology to make shows like never before. The shows you wouldn't expect from a local artist. And you know, you may think that there are tons of people behind this kind of project. You may think that Of course, a production like this probably has 15, 20, 30 people behind producing content, running it live. The reality is different. There is one person, maybe two people. The Armin van Buuren show back in 2014 showed the same thing. I was there. There was just one guy running all the visuals for the Armin van Buuren show. The projects we have accomplished, it was just two of us, me and one of my buddies. So, taking all this experience, what can I actually advise the people here? Because I'd like to be practical. First thing, you have to fuel your itches. The moment you get that question, how did they do that? The moment you see something awesome, don't suppress it. Don't think it's overcomplicated. It may be much simpler and much more attainable than you think. Second is find an accomplice, which means find someone who is as passionate of what you do, or find someone who is working on a subject that is adjacent to your subject, and try to do something together. It seems that working in a team of 2 or 3 or more provides the best results, because there is the creative flow going between you two. And finally, have some fun. I don't do this inside the team for the money, but actually, I have to admit that having this innovation in our team raises the value of what we do. It makes our company more profitable, because we can charge more for our services, because our shows are different. At the same time, it differentiates us. It makes us better than the competition. I don't know many companies in Chisinau, even in the region, who have this technology. But in the end, it's about the fun, and I do it for the fun. So I'm going to put this slide again on the screen, and I'm going to ask you again. How many of you think you could figure this out? And please raise your hand. Okay, I see hands in the room, so my job is done here. Thank you.